the Attorney General was in an important legal meeting, and she sends her regards and sends her apologies. So her regards and apologies to all of you. My name is Muhammad Mohsen Awais, and I'm the Director of Muslim Affairs in the Office of the New York State Attorney General. This is a new position, started this past December, because the Attorney General wanted to make sure that the Muslim community has a representative in her office, because the Attorney General and other elected officials understand that there are about 1 million or so Muslims in New York City. That's about 1/10 of the population, and there are 1.2 or 1.3 million Muslims across the state. So we have a large, growing, educated, increasingly wealthy, increasingly involved population, and she wanted to make sure that we were represented. Because I understand, and the Attorney General understands, that sometimes we have a fear, we have an apprehension of law enforcement. I'll tell you a personal story about me. I was in the first grade. I was only, 8 or 9 years old when 9/11 happened. I remember right after 9/11, there was a lot of fear. There was fear that the FBI or other agencies or the police are going to come at you and come and see your mosque, or they're going to take you away. My name is Muhammad. I grew up, my mother taught me, don't say your name on the phone. So even today, when someone says, hey, good morning, who is this? I sometimes think, and then I say Muhammad. Wow. That's the fear that was ingrained in me. I do not want any other generation to live in that fear again. Inshallah, no other generation, our children, our families will never live in that fear again, because the Attorney General is concerned about your fear, and we're going to make sure that we overcome that. Anything I can do for you, I am available at your disposal. I've shared my information with the respected president here, and I'm here at your service. I remember when I was a kid, I was very scared. It was a very scary time. I don't know how many of you were here in 2001, but it was a terrifying time. And, sometimes I have that fear now. I have that same fear. But you know how I go to sleep these nights? Because I know that we have people like Delorny Namorin. Because I know that we have people like David Coulibaly. Because I know that we have people like Rolando Torres and his organization. Because I know that this is a country of law, and we have courts, and we have prosecutors, and there is no president, this president or any other president, that is going to attack our rights. When I look out into this room, I see a room full of Americans, I see a room full of New Yorkers, and inshallah, no one is taking that away from us. I'm available to you, at your disposal. I'm your humble servant, and inshallah, anything I can do to serve you, I'm at your disposal. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum. Alafia. Alafia. Assalamu alaikum.
Just 2 more questions.
2 more questions.
And so I want to start by saying that our agency, well, first, before I talk about our agency, I want to thank the Young-Casa Association, the Masjid, Imam Saleh, the president of the association, Ibrahim, David, everyone who invited us here today. We want to come back as many times as you'll have us to have this conversation about human rights in New York City. And I do think it's important that everyone is familiar with our agency. What our agency does is it enforces the city's human rights law. So New York City, the 5 boroughs, has a human rights law specific to it that prohibits discrimination in employment, in housing, in places of public accommodation, on the street, discriminatory harassment on the street, and protects against bias-based profiling from law enforcement. Okay, so those are the 5 areas that we prohibit discrimination in New York City. And we do that by investigating reports of unfair or unequal treatment of people based on what we call, in the legal world, protected classes. But protected classes is just a fancy word for different kinds of identities. And so your race can be a protected class under the city's human rights law. Your faith, your religion is a protected class under the city's human rights law. A disability, a language that you speak, The way you wear your hair at your job is a protected class under the city's human rights law. Okay, so there are many different protected classes. I did bring some literature here that will explain some of that in more detail. I can bring more, as much as you need. Anytime you need, I can drop that off. But there are a few things that I did want to talk about today because I think that they're important for our communities, especially at this time, to understand regarding the human rights law. The first thing is that this law in the city has not changed at all. Okay? Regardless of what happened in November, January, years before that, the only thing it has done in the past few years is has expanded. We've protected more people because we keep expanding the protected classes. Okay, so the more protected classes under the law, the more people, the more situations are protected. And I want you all to know now that in New York City, you still cannot be discriminated against because of your immigration or citizenship status or perceived status, and I'm going to talk about that as well. You cannot be discriminated against because of the language you speak or the country you come from. Okay? So for example, if I'm looking for an apartment in New York City, it's not easy, right? If I talk to a landlord or a superintendent that's taking the application, they ask me, before I take this, what country do you come from? Or what religion are you? Right? Or are you documented? You know, are you a citizen here? All of those questions cannot be asked under the law. Okay, so if you are asked, because I'm not saying it doesn't happen, we know it happens. That's why we exist. When it happens, if it does, hopefully, God forbid it does not, but if it does, we are who you can call. And we will reach out to these housing providers or employers or businesses that may be discriminating, and we can say, hey, look, you know, this is what the human rights law says in New York City, and so certain questions cannot be asked of people who are applying for apartments or applying for jobs, right? It's the same protections when you already have the apartment or when you already have the job. And so if you find yourself getting treated differently from your other coworkers, maybe because of your race, maybe because of your religion, right? This could be things that maybe we don't take too much to heart, maybe comments about our faith, right? Jokes, right? Or comments about our race or our accent. All of these things are considered discrimination, though, under the city's human rights law. And we can investigate these instances as long as you know, someone wants to come forth with that information. Okay? So the other thing I want to say quickly is that our agency, Commission on Human Rights, no matter what office you're in, we have an office in each borough, we will never, our staff will never ask about immigration status. It doesn't matter. Okay? Your status, anyone's status in New York City, you know, citizenship status is irrelevant because people face discrimination because of their status, but they also face discrimination because they are perceived to be of a certain status. But the bottom line is that the treatment should be the same for everyone. Okay? And so we want to make clear that you can come to us without fear of ever having to give that information or having to share someone else's information if you wanted to share someone else's situation with us. And so I think I will close with that, but I just wanted to reiterate that our agency is here. We're here to help all New Yorkers. It doesn't matter if you've been here 8 days or 80 years, okay? If you live or work in New York City, this law covers you, okay? And so please remember that. I have some cards, but the leadership at Young Casa will always have my contact information if you need to touch base with us. I hope to be back very soon for more meetings, more celebrations, with more literature, and I hope everyone has a blessed day.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for this insightful knowledge and information.
Thank you.
At this juncture, we will call upon.
Oh yeah.
I hope I mentioned it right. The Lori Nomiran to actually take the podium and speak to us on Know Your Right.
Okay. Where's the little box? Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. Thank you for inviting me, you guys. This is my first time here at Young Council. Thank you. Hopefully I come back. My name is Delorny. I'm a lawyer at the Legal Aid Society, okay? That is what I do. So today my goal is to give you a generalization of immigration law. You guys already know so much is changing so fast. Okay? Faster than the law can even summarize. All the years, I've been a lawyer, you guys, for 15 years, and this is very, very, very fast. Thank you. Okay, so I want to start off with the basic, you guys. If you have an immigration court date, please go to the court date. I heard some rumors, some people saying they're not going to the court date. This is a big, big mistake, okay? Let's start off with that. You have a court date, go to the court dates, okay? Because what you don't want is a default order of deportation. You don't show up, they think you're doing whatever, now you have an order of deportation, you have bigger problems, okay? If you have a court date, they know you're here, they let you stay in the community, show up, comply, go to your court date, okay? So there's a website, you guys, I have some papers here. They're in English, but there is a website so you can check the date of your court date. There's even a 1-800 number so you can call. But it is super, super important to not miss court date. That's why I want to start off, okay? There's a court date. Please don't miss the court date. I don't care what anybody else tells you. Go to court, okay? So then, now, there are different statuses in the country. Everybody know you can be citizen, naturalized citizen. You can have a green card. Then there are some people we noticed in the last couple of years have the humanitarian parolee, okay? Then everybody knows there's visas, there's TPS. There's humanitarian parole, there's visas, there's TPS. Then you guys, you always hear this big word undocumented, undocumented, undocumented. The word undocumented is various things. That means maybe you had a tourist visa. Everybody knows tourist visa is good for 10 years, but you can't stay here for more than 180 days. You come in, you stay forever. Now you're undocumented because your tourist visa is no good because you stayed longer than 108 days. You're considered now undocumented, okay? You can also be undocumented because you crossed the border, maybe you walked, maybe you took a boat, I don't know anybody's business, but you also came here with no status. And maybe you came here and nobody even caught you. So that means you're undocumented and you've never been inspected. Entry without inspection. You're gonna hear me refer to that a lot. Entry without inspection versus the person who came here on a visa and overstayed the visa. That person did enter legally but overstayed. Both of these people are undocumented people, okay though? But they're not same people, okay? All right. All right, I'm gonna try to go fast. Well, not too fast, but then when you want to change your status, you know, a lot of people do family-based adjustments. You get married, maybe you know somebody with a green card or who is a citizen, depending on who you are, they can apply for you. Maybe you came in TPS, humanitarian parole, then you apply for asylum. Everybody knows if you apply for asylum, it's 1 year from the minute you enter the country. There's also stuff that's called special immigration juvenile status. I'll explain that later. There's the U visa, there's a T visa, there's a VAWA, and then there's something called 10-year cancellation removal, okay? Let me just start off with the family adjustment. I think everybody knows that. That means maybe you're married to a citizen, or you have a child who's a citizen, you have a family member who's a citizen, they can apply for you to get green card, okay? I think a lot of people know that. If you have a green card, you can apply for your spouse or your unmarried child. So green card people can only apply for those two things. Now, if you are applying for somebody who entered without inspection, we have a problem, okay? We have a problem. People who have inspection, that means you overstayed a visa or something like that. You came in with inspection, that means the government knew when you entered. Adjusting your status, far much easier. Nothing is easy in life, but far much easier. Those who entered without inspection, okay, we have a little problem where the government might ask you to go back to your country and re-enter. Sometimes when they go back, they say you have to wait 10 years to re-enter. Sometimes you can apply for that and not to be 10 years. Sometimes you can apply for other things. Maybe if you have a sick child, sick parent, maybe you can ask a waiver. Okay, maybe. Those are specific questions you have to ask a lawyer. But no, if you came in with inspection, it is easier to adjust without leaving the country. If you came without inspection, it's very difficult. You might have to go back to your country and they're gonna ask you to come back, okay? Now, okay, so then we have TPS. A lot of people, you guys, I'm Haitian. Haitians always get some form of TPS because Haiti is always a problem. And so TPS gives you temporary status. Now the problem with TPS, you guys, TPS never lets you be a citizen. See, when someone applies for you and gives you a green card, then you wait your 3 years, 5 years, you can get citizenship. TPS, you're always in the hands of the government. It's a very bad hands to be in because you don't know if they're going to expire your TPS. But at least you have legal status, you have a work visa, okay? Then asylum. I think a lot of people know what asylum is. You come into this country, regardless of how you come, you have 1 year to apply for asylum. If you don't apply in that 1 year, you lose your case, okay? So if you come here on humanitarian parole, whatever the case is, please, the minute you come in, immediately start getting a lawyer and trying to apply for your asylum, okay? Because asylum, you get asylum, then you get your green card, then you can, that is a clear path to citizenship, okay? Then we have something called special immigrant juvenile status. That is for when a child under the age of 21 is abandoned, abused, or neglected by one parent, okay? I think this is something very underutilized. We see in the immigrant community, we have kids come into this country, we don't know how they come in, and if they have one parent, maybe no parents, this is a very good mechanism for them, and it is a path to citizenship, right? If you get it, you can get a green card. The only thing, once that person gets a green card, they cannot apply for the parent that supposedly abandoned, neglected them, okay? It only gives them the path to citizenship, okay? All right. Now, there's always VAWA, which is if you're a victim of domestic violence. It's not only for women, it can be for men, it could be for adult parents, they call it elder abuse, but it is for someone who is being abused by a U.S. citizen or a green card holder, okay? If you are a victim of abuse. Then there's U visa, that makes you a victim of any crime. You're cooperating with the officials, district attorney, ACS, federal prosecution. You cooperate with them, and then that helps you get a work visa. That helps you get a work permit, and that helps you get a green card, okay? And if you are a victim, it helps get your direct family members access to that U visa too, okay? Again, I'm just telling you guys the options, again, and I'm very clear about which one of those options lead to citizenship, okay? There's a T visa, that means you're a traffic of sex or labor. That means you're working and things like that. They're not paying you, all this stuff. It's abuse, they won't let you go. And again, that's another path to get a valid work permit and green card and things of that nature. Now, there's this thing where that means you're in deportation proceeding already, okay? You're already in the deportation proceeding. And it's called cancellation of removal of deportation. That means you're not here, no asylum, no nothing for you, but you've been here for 10 years. You didn't get caught, I don't know, miracle, I don't know. But you've been here for 10 years, you're in deportation. You can ask for them to cancel your removal. However, it's very hard. You have to say that you have a child, a minor, who's sick. When I say sick, you guys, unfortunately, I want everyone to have healthy children. But let's just say cancer, autism, something where they need their parent here. Maybe you are married to someone, again, sick, but they need you here. And they will cancel, okay, cancellation of removal if you've been here for 10 years. There's it's a lot more complicated than that, but that's the big umbrella, okay? All right. Now, those are the status options, but now I want to talk about what I think is very important that I've never seen ever, you guys. ICE is everywhere. ICE is everywhere. My friend works at a restaurant. She says people who are mad at the employees will just call ICE on people. It is very, very scary the way people are attacking people and threatening people with ICE, okay? ICE is Immigration, Custom, and Enforcement. Okay. ICE, well, you guys know ICE can pick up people who they believe are here undocumented for whatever that is, right? That means overstay visa, or you came in without entry. Maybe you are a green card holder, but you got a conviction that qualified to invalidate your green card. I also am going to talk a little bit and take a break here and talk about this document here. If you know anybody, okay, who has humanitarian parolee, it looks like, at least as of late March, maybe early this month, they have already told those people they are not renewing your humanitarian parolee. Okay, now I want to tell you this because some people applied for humanitarian parolee, maybe at address in Brooklyn. Now you live in the Bronx. They're mailing Brooklyn. Nobody's telling you about the information in the Bronx. And you may have a letter. I have copies of a sample letter. This is a letter somebody received. I try to remove everything. But it's a letter, and it says on the letter, you know, this person, your documents are going to be expired April 24, 2025. You must leave the country. If you have a work permit, the work permit is no good. Even if the date on the work permit says good, it's no good because your status is no longer good. It's canceled, okay? And if you stay past 180 days, they may never, you know, you're gonna be like not have to wait 10 years to get back in, okay? So I don't know if you guys know anybody with humanitarian parolee, but those people have already received letters in the mail. So tell them whatever address they gave the government, there's a letter already in the mail that tells them what day their paper is going to expire. And if there is a work permit, regardless of what date is on the work permit is no good once the expiration of your status is still good. And you need not stay past 180 days. You should leave immediately, okay? But if you stay past 100 days, there's major consequences, okay? For any chance of you coming back into this country, okay? However, if you are humanitarian parolee, but you apply for asylum, maybe somebody in their family applied for you, so now it means you're in this country on a different status now, okay? You can come in one way, but you have a pending application for something else. But it is very important that you look at the mail, wherever you move. You know, New Yorkers, people move, whatever. Whatever, you fought with the person, there's no space in the house, you went someplace else. You are checking the letters they're sending. When you move, you need to update that in the system, okay? All right. All right, so I told you ICE can pick up people who they think they don't have any legal status. We also heard Vanessa Gibson brought it up. ICE is making mistakes. They're making mistakes. There's somebody in a prison in El Salvador that has no business in the prison in El Salvador. My position is nobody should be in a prison in El Salvador. But there are mistakes being made, so it's super, super important that everything is up to date. Again, you go on the immigration website, you check your status, they tell you your status if your papers are good, okay? Now, this is for the green card holders. If you were arrested and you in America, you got a conviction again in America, by law, the lawyer must have told you that your conviction is going to impact your status. Okay, literally, there are immigration criminal attorneys whose sole job is to make sure the person knows that I got this crime and that crime impacts my status, okay? So those people, please check. You already know if it messed something up, okay? So I'm not gonna, because it's very complicated depending on the crime. It can be a lot. Okay, so when ICE picks you up, if ICE picks you up, I pray to God ICE never picks somebody up, okay? If ICE picks you up, multiple things I want you to know, okay? First thing, I was at AOC's office recently. There's this paper. It's called Department of Homeland and Security ICE release form, okay? It's up here. What this form is important, this is what AOC recommended. Sorry, before I get here, I didn't call Richie's office or Espaillat's office. But this is not a paper just for AOC, okay? This paper, you guys, fill it out in advance, because when you fill it out in advance, it's good for 90 days. So you might want to just keep filling it out. And what this allows AOC, your congressperson, to do is, let's just say someone picks you up and you don't know how to find your person, you can go to your congressperson's office and says, hey, the person filled out a form, they left it at your office, can you help me find my family member? Okay? Can you help do something for me? AOC says if we don't fill out these forms, which is like, HIPAA form, release form, she says DHS, ICE is not talking to them because they're like, who are you? You know what I mean? So it's important to fill out this release form, drop it off at your local congressperson's office. You know, maybe if you live with somebody, you know, your daughter's congressperson's office, whatever. So just in case ICE comes and gets you, more people can help. More people can do something, try to do something, you guys. There's no guarantees. Okay, so ICE picks you up. You guys, ICE can take you anywhere, legally speaking. Okay, this is the sad part I have to tell you. They can take you, when I say anywhere, they have to take you to an ICE jail, but the ICE jail doesn't have to be in New York, okay? So the ICE jails in New York are in Pennsylvania. There's one in Orange County. Pennsylvania is not New York, but it's close enough, okay? That's where we see they take most people. However, all of a sudden, they love Louisiana. We're hearing a lot of people being picked up and being flown to an ICE detention center in Louisiana. I think it's because they know the judges in Louisiana are different than the judges in New York. And so it is important that just in case someone gets picked up, you're like, where they are. They could be in Moshannon Valley in Pennsylvania. They could be in Orange County upstate, or they can be in Pennsylvania, or they could be in Louisiana. I don't know. And it takes about like 2 days in the system to figure out where your family member is, okay? But you do not have a right, just because they picked you up in New York, that they will put you in an ICE detention center in New York. There is a website called ice.gov locator to locate people if you use their first name, last name, if you have people's A numbers. But again, it takes them a while to update the system, so it can take about 48 hours. So now let me give you guys some rights. With ICE is looking for you, you guys, I have the forms here, and you guys heard Vanessa talk about it. ICE usually does not have a warrant with your name on it. Does not have a warrant, and let me tell you, it has to be a judge-signed warrant. This form, there's a few copies here. A judge-signed warrant, you guys, is going to say, you know, United States Court. Okay, I'll give you guys another picture. Hold on, I don't like these pictures, but it's going to say the United States District Court of blah, blah, blah. But it's going to say, and it's going to have a line that says judge signature. There's these other documents ICE walks around with that doesn't even say the word judge on it. It's not even a judge document. So it's not real, and therefore you do not need to open the door for them. So if you get knock, 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 ICE, you're like, do you have a warrant? They're going to say, yes. Can you slide it under the door? Okay? You're going to say, can you slide it under the door? Then they're going to slide it under the door. You're going to see, does it say the word district, United States District Judge? No district judge, no worries about you. Do you see the line that says judge and somebody sign? You don't see that? No. Is it your name? Maybe in the wrong door.
Yes.
Okay? Not opening the door. Okay? Now, because it's rare that they have a warrant, they're knocking on the door, they're usually picking up people on the streets. Okay, that's usually where they're picking up people. They're picking up people on the streets, and it's important when they pick you up on the streets, you don't lie to ICE. Now, if you have valid documentation, then of course, you know, you'll be like, hey, my work permit is valid. I can show you that. But if you don't have nothing, don't say nothing. If you already know the situation, stay quiet. Because if you lie to them, now fraud is in the case. And that's more problems than you have. You see what I mean? So we don't need to make more problems, okay? If we have valid stuff, we show valid stuff. If we don't have anything valid, we stay quiet, okay? Boom. All right. All right. Yes, okay, and I have those papers that show you what a real warrant looks like and the fake warrant, okay? Okay, I already told you what to do with ICE comes to your door. All right, we live, I don't know, I wish this was here. We live technically in a sanctuary city, okay? Let me explain to you what sanctuary city means. That means the school, public school, is not supposed to be like, I know the mom, dad is undocumented, okay? H&H Hospital, Lincoln, whatever, is not telling people, oh, I know this person is undocumented. There's a lot of benefits, you know, HRA, whatever. They're not telling the federal government someone is undocumented. Before, even Rikers is not telling anybody someone is undocumented, okay? I understand though, no matter what I tell you legally, you don't trust nothing, it's your life. Okay, so I can also understand that. But it is important, you guys, right now, kids go to school. We're seeing kids not going to school because people are scared. We're seeing people not going to the doctor because people are scared. What if you're having a heart attack, you don't want to call the ambulance, people are scared. We cannot live like this. You cannot die in fear. Okay? So it's super important that I tell you this so you can be safe. But if you know somebody, if your daughter, your child goes to school with the neighbor is scared, at least you can take the both kids together. So we can all help each other be safe right now, okay? If you go in the grocery store, the person's scared to go to the grocery store, hey, you give me the money, I can go pick up for the both of us, okay? Because let's be honest, I can tell you, sanctuary city, but you believe what you just trying to protect yourself. So I really think that is important. Now, there's this document, it's huge, shout out to the legal aid. I have packets of this. This is things to prepare because you guys, some people will get deported. Some people get deported even though they have kids, they have family, they have friends, whatever. So there needs to be a backup plan. You drop your daughter, you drop your child, you drop your grandchild to school. Someone picks you up in the street, who's gonna pick up the child? Who's the backup plan? We need to have a prepared plan in advance. Because the worst thing is you're fighting deportation, someone has your kid in ACS, it's all too much confusion for one family. So it is important that you plan things in advance, and there's a document right here that Legal Aid created so that people can list all the things in advance, suggested things to plan in advance. It's on this document. Now I have to tell you, Legal Aid, Bronx Defender, there's a place called Brooklyn Defender Service. That's everybody. Only right now are picking up cases for people who are in detention, okay? So sometimes ICE arrest people, but they let them be in the community. I told you guys, go to court, come back until they figure it out. Sometimes ICE is keeping people in detention, not letting them out. And so, because you do not have a right to a free lawyer, the free lawyers New York City has are only focused right now on the people who are in detention centers, because there's not enough of us for everybody, okay? But the Mayor's Office of Immigration, MOA, they have a 1-800 hotline. Catholic Charities also has a hotline. Catholic Charities is doing a really good job. They're getting volunteer immigration attorneys to do sessions with people. I think David's behind me. Now I know the president. I can send you guys the calendar. Every month, Catholic Charities, I tried to find it last night, couldn't find it. They have a calendar of various places you can come, walk in and get some, I would say, good legal advice, okay? Because another thing I want to say is that because people are desperate and scared, there are people taking advantage of you. Notaries, lawyers, saying they can do all this stuff, and they cannot do it. They cannot do it, okay? And so you don't have enough money, now you're wasting money on somebody who cannot do it. And so it's really important wherever you can get legitimate advice. So the Catholic Charities consultation, MOA, they will tell you if it's a good case. And they will also sometimes tell you bad news. Because sometimes it is bad news, but you want the truth so you know what's happening. Okay, all right. I think I covered almost everything. I'm sorry, it was a lot. Okay, I think I covered almost everything. Okay. And then after we're done, you guys, there's the papers here. You guys can come and get them. Also, these are these red cards. There's always an English side. Sorry, because they always do stuff for Spanish people. So one side is Spanish, one side is English, one side is French, one side is English. But there's always an English side. And just in case you're stopped with ICE, you can give them, I have the right to remain silent. I have the right to remain silent. It says your constitutional rights to remain silent, okay? I do wanted to bring up, because every day something's changing. Right now, I don't know if you guys heard this, IRS is working with ICE.
Yeah,
you heard the bad news? You heard the bad news, okay.
Give your address to them.
Yeah, so litigation is happening. You guys know it's like 3 days ago we all find out together. So what we believe is this. One, they're looking for the address of people with final orders of deportation, okay? That is who they are really looking for. That means they already know they wrote an order for you to leave and you're filing taxes. I don't know, but whatever. That's a situation. Then we know a lot of people, street vendors, there's the IT, the ITN number. Right now, it doesn't look like they're asking for that. They don't say they're asking for that. But again, when people are scared, I know it feels like they're asking for everybody. You know what I mean? But I want to be very clear that we believe, and what they said was they're looking for people with final orders. Okay, thank you. Thanks. They are saying they're looking for that. I heard the AG's coming. She might have better answers than me about that, but there is something like that. There's also a pending litigation for TPS. So humanitarian parole, I told you guys that's done. They've already wrote the letters. TPS, before Biden left, he had extended TPS. And then Trump said, no extension. And then there's litigation, and they said, extension right now is still good, okay? However, I say right now, because everything is changing. And it was mostly for the Venezuelans and the Haitians right now, okay? So I want to say that, and I don't know who's talking after me. I think there might be a Q&A. I don't know who gets this mic. Who gets the mic?
For question and answer.
Without me?
We are only going to take 5 questions.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
I want to ask you this question. I want to ask you this question. Sometimes we argue among ourselves. Some things, those with working authorization, social security, and state ID are documented immigrants. Others think they are undocumented. Others think those without nothing, they are undocumented because they don't have anything. And others think those with green card, they are documented. And those with social security and state ID and working authorization and those without nothing are the ones undocumented. So I want to know who is undocumented immigrant. That's a good question.
Okay, great. I can answer that one. Okay, undocumented people are, it really means you have no legal status in this country, okay? So, if you have a pending case, right, pending asylum 6 months, they gave you green card. They gave you work authorization, right? You, right now, are a documented person, okay? You are a documented person. It might expire, right? TPS is a person who is a documented person. That could expire, right? A humanitarian parolee is a documented person. That means there is a document that says you have some legal status in this country, regardless of how temporary that status is, okay? So you are fine if you have something that says, I'm allowed to be here, okay? And the government knows I'm here. Okay, the government gave me a work authorization. They came here, I'm good, okay? The way you become undocumented is the document expired, okay? The document expired. The asylum case is denied, okay? You had a tourist visa. You stayed past the 180 days. You invalidated it. So what sometimes maybe they're talking about is there are some statuses that is going to give you is a route to citizenship, right? Everyone's documentation is not a route to citizenship, okay? Green card, yes. Route to citizenship, yes, okay? You have asylum, good. You're on a route to citizenship. You received it, you won, okay? So there are people who have a status that is not a route to citizenship, and there are people with status that have a right to citizenship, and then there's some people who have nothing. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I have a question that borders on all of us. There are people who have U.S. citizens, and they also have a citizen of another country, meaning that they have passport of another country.
Two citizenship.
Now, when they leave the United States of America, mostly they leave with the foreign passport where they're going. And when they are coming back, they come with a U.S. passport. What is the legal perspective on that?
So you cannot be denaturalized, okay? Once you are a citizen, it is, unless you can prove your application for citizenship was fraud, you are citizen. For better or worse, please don't do nothing crazy, but for better or worse, you're just one of us, okay? You're just a crazy person that is one of us, you know? So I did hear that people were saying if you leave on the other passport, they're not gonna let you back. They're gonna let you back. Here's a question I will tell you. We are living in weird times. So you come back, they might ask you a lot of questions. The questions doesn't feel good. Okay, now you think it's the end of the world, you're in a room, a little box, they're asking you who you are, they're asking you all these things, they want to touch your phone, there's so much is happening, makes your head hurts. So, but that doesn't mean you're going to lose your citizenship, okay? The uncomfortable interview that may happen does not negate that you are a United States, U.S. citizen, naturalized, okay? So I have a very, very good friend. His parents are gonna go to Nigeria. They have a whole plan. They cancel the trip. The mom says her head hurts. She's not going anymore. And she's not going, she stays. But this is not true, you guys. It is not true, but I cannot say that you're not gonna get asked some questions. And even that, I don't know why, but I can say they are stopping people so randomly now, you know what I mean? But losing your citizenship, you're not losing your citizenship. You're not losing your citizenship. And you are coming back into the country, okay? If you come back in this 2 minutes, now it might take 20 minutes, but you're coming back. Yeah.
Assalamu alaikum. So, David Kulbali, Director of Community Affairs, Bronx Borough President. I actually called our lawyer here when I was in Ivory Coast. So, when I was going to Ivory Coast, I traveled with my Ivorian passport. That's why I went to Ivory Coast. I did not share my American passport when I was leaving the country because I'm going also in Ivory Coast, which is also my country. So, without a visa because it's Ivorian passport, valid passport. When I was coming back to the United States, there's no need for me to show my Ivorian passport because I'm coming home to America. I showed my United States passport without a visa because they don't care. I'm not coming to America. I don't need a visa to come to America. So I came to the United States, no question asked. The question is just asked, regular questions. Where you from? How long you stay there? Where did you go? That's it. But again, a lot of people call me when I was there. I actually called. I said, what's going on in America? Everybody was like, oh, David, they're going to block you. I said, no, they can't. If they block me, that's a lawsuit. That's a violation of my civil rights. But again, the Trump administration doesn't care. We're now living in normal times, so people are scared. So if you want to avoid doing that at this time, please do so. Go with American passport. Coming back, bring it back again. Because that is the law. You'll find there's no issue though. But these guys are crazy. Just want to go.
Council, a follow-up. We've had so many calls again about phones. People are saying that the immigration can take your phone at the border and go into your phone, and whatever they see, they can use it against you. We want to know the legal status.
I got this. Yes, this is something I'm also hearing. I'm also hearing that there are, I don't know how they decide whose phones they're checking, okay? I don't know. This is very new, okay? All I can tell you is that most recently there was a lawyer in Michigan. They wanted to take his phone, and he said no. He said no, and they didn't take the phone. They didn't take the phone. And so I don't know if they're asking for phones and everyone is just scared because it's an ICE officer, so they're just handing over the phone. But I do not believe that failure to turn over your phone means you are not allowed in the country. You see what I mean? There's things people are going to ask you to do. That doesn't mean they're going to kick you. Cannot just be kicked out of the country. I think it is important. I know Tish is not here right now, but due process is important. Anybody who's going to lose a green card, you're going to try to denaturalize someone. No, that all is a process, you guys, okay? And so it is very, very important that, I don't know what is on anybody's phone, but I heard they are asking people for phones. I have not been told what is the consequences for not turning over the phone, okay? And most recently, a lawyer was asked for the phone, He's a lawyer. Supposedly, again, he was representing children in Michigan, college kids in Michigan, who are pro-Palestinian. And he told the officers he's not giving them the phone because his phone has attorney-client stuff. That's what he answered, and that's it. And so there's no rules on that yet that are permanent, but I heard they are asking.
ربنا تقبل منا انك انت السميع العليم وتب علينا يا مولانا انك انت التواب الرحيم ربنا اتنا في الدنيا حسنه وفي الاخره حسنه وقنا عذاب النار ربنا اننا سمعنا مناديا ينادي للايمان ان امنوا بربكم فامنا ربنا فاغفر لنا ذنوبنا وكفر عنا سيئاتنا وتوفنا مع الابرار ان الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا ايها الذين امنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما وصلى الله عليه وعلى اله واصحابه وسلم تسليما سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون والسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.
Alhamdulillah, the event is officially ended. If you want to get a picture, you can come. I'm taking a picture. You are my son, okay? This is my son.
Assalamu alaikum. Haji, how are you?
What am I doing?
Nice to meet you.
Okay.
Assalamu
Sit on my card. You want my card? Sit on my card. Hold on. Where's the card?
We'll take a group picture right there.
Here.